A mother secretly disguises herself as a housekeeper to test her son's fiancé. What she discovers shocks everyone. In the opulent main lobby of the Violetta Hotel, Serena, the arrogant bride-to-be, publicly humiliates and even shoves a cleaning cart belonging to an elderly housekeeper, not knowing the woman is Julian's mother. That single act sets off a storm of secrets, betrayals, and a test of love and pride that will shake this luxurious empire to its very foundations. The sound of high heels echoed across the wide marble floor, sharp and steady. A moment later, Serena's voice cut through the air. "Are you blind?" she shouted. Heads turned. Employees froze in place. Some quickly lowered their eyes, pretending to focus on their phones. Others stared in shock. Serena stood tall, taking off her dark sunglasses. Her expression was cold. An elderly woman in a gray cleaning uniform was bent down, carefully wiping at a puddle. A scarf covered her gray hair, and her movements were careful but steady. "Ah, madam, I am sorry," the woman said in a trembling voice. "It will not happen again." Her words carried humility, but Serena only grew angrier. She took a slow step forward. She tilted her head, staring down at the woman, as though the very sight of her disgusted her. "Do you know how much these shoes cost?" Serena snapped. "Or do you think everyone here is as poor and dirty as you?" Gasps echoed from the far end of the lobby. A few workers exchanged nervous glances, but kept quiet. Even the security guard at the entrance shifted uncomfortably. The elderly woman kept wiping slowly, her voice calm. "Please, madam, it was a mistake." "Shut up!" Serena barked. "Do not talk back to me. Your job is to clean, not to get in people's way." The woman paused. For a brief moment, she lifted her head and met Serena's eyes. There was no anger in her look. Only a deep calmness that came from years of carrying heavy burdens. She lowered her head again and continued wiping. Something about her slow movements seemed to irritate Serena even more. Her jaw tightened. Then, without warning, she stepped forward and shoved the cleaning cart. The rag slipped from the housekeeper's hand. Soapy water spilled across the marble. The woman gasped softly, holding her waist, her breathing heavy. She struggled, but did not fall. The entire lobby froze. The receptionist stopped typing. Someone near the elevator covered their mouth in shock. For a few seconds, no one moved. No one spoke. Serena adjusted her stance, hissing, "Next time, watch where you put your dirty water." With that, she turned and walked toward the elevator. Her long strides echoed loudly. The steel doors slid open, and she stepped inside without a backward glance. A second later, the doors closed behind her, sealing the silence. The housekeeper straightened slowly. She pressed her hand against her waist for support, but her face remained calm, almost expressionless. She bent down, picked up the rag and cart, and quietly resumed wiping the floor. There was no sign of anger, no insult on her lips, no tears in her eyes. She moved with the same steady dignity she had shown before, but no one in the lobby knew the truth. This woman was not a regular housekeeper at the Violetta Hotel. In fact, she did not work there at all. She had only come that morning with one purpose, to see the true character of her son's fiancé. The woman was Mrs. Evelyn Carter, mother of billionaire CEO Julian. She had borrowed the uniform from a friend and entered the hotel quietly, determined to test Serena for herself. She had heard troubling things about the young woman Julian planned to marry, stories about her arrogance, her sharp tongue, her lack of respect for others. Mrs. Carter wanted to see with her own eyes. Now she had seen enough. As she walked calmly out of the hotel, her cart in hand, her heart was heavy but steady. Her son had no idea that the woman he loved had just insulted and shoved his mother. Julian saw Serena as beautiful, ambitious, and perfect. But Mrs. Carter knew better now. Upstairs in her suite, Serena was laughing on the phone with her friend Chloe. "Can you believe it? Some dirty cleaner ruined my morning. These people do not know their place." She leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs, satisfied with herself. She thought the little scene in the lobby was already forgotten. But she was wrong. She did not know she had just humiliated the most important woman in her fiancé's life. She did not know that her careless actions would trigger a chain of events powerful enough to shake the very ground she stood on. And she did not know that Mrs. Carter was not a woman to be ignored. The test had only begun. The morning after the lobby incident, Serena stood in front of her mirror, carefully applying red lipstick. She leaned closer, adjusted her hair, and smiled at her reflection. To anyone else, it was the smile of a woman who had everything. But beneath that smile was a growing fire, one that had been burning for years. She had always believed the world owed her respect. At the Violetta Hotel, she was not just a manager. She was Serena, head of marketing, fiancée of the hotel's CEO Julian. Her heels announced her arrival each morning before her voice did. She barked orders, corrected mistakes loudly, and made it clear to everyone that she did not have time for weakness. The junior staff whispered about her sharp tongue. Some feared her, others secretly hated her. But no one dared confront her, not when her connections reached the very top. Still, this arrogance had not grown overnight. It had roots. Years before, Serena had been in a serious relationship with Marcus Grant, a gentle architect who saw her beauty but ignored the warnings of friends who said she was too proud. For a while, Marcus tried to love her through her sharp edges. He endured the way she belittled waiters, rolled her eyes at taxi drivers, and mocked people who did not dress well. But one evening at a wedding, everything changed. Serena had spotted one of the bridesmaids wearing a simple dress. Loud enough for half the room to hear, she sneered. "Can you imagine showing up to a wedding dress like that?" she scoffed. "She looks like she bought it from a roadside stall." Laughter from nearby guests stung deeper than the words. Marcus's face turned red. On the drive home, silence filled the car until he finally spoke. His voice was calm, but firm. "Serena, I love you, but I cannot do this anymore. You do not treat people well, and I cannot build a life with someone who thinks kindness is weakness." She laughed bitterly. "So, you are breaking up with me because I told the truth? Fine. Go find someone soft enough to handle your boring life." The next day, Marcus returned her things and walked away forever. The breakup stung, but Serena buried the pain under pride. She told herself Marcus was weak, too sensitive. He could not handle a strong woman. That was her story, and she repeated it until she believed it. But deep inside, a seed of anger had taken root. She promised herself she would never let anyone make her feel small again. Now she had Julian, handsome, wealthy, admired. With him, she had risen higher than ever before, and this time she would not lose. Serena's world of control had cracks. Her best friend, Chloe, often tried to caution her. "Serena, you do not always have to shout," Chloe would say during their brunch outings. Serena would wave her hand dismissively. "People only respect strength, Chloe. If I do not keep them in line, they will walk all over me." Chloe never pushed too hard. She had seen what happened to others who challenged Serena. Friendships ended with blocked numbers and deleted photos. At work, Serena's pattern continued. If a report had the smallest error, she tore it apart in front of everyone. If a housekeeper crossed her path, she waved them off like they were invisible. She never once remembered their names. In her mind, this was leadership. To her staff, it was tyranny. And yet, Serena thought she was untouchable. She had Julian. She had power. She had money. What could possibly shake her throne? What she did not know was that someone had already begun pulling the thread. Down in her modest home across town, Mrs. Carter sat quietly with a small diary open in front of her. The pages were filled with neat handwriting notes from the day before. Serena shouted in the lobby, called housekeeper poor and dirty, shoved my cart in front of staff. She wrote slowly, carefully, recording every detail. She was not just reacting to her humiliation. She was building a record. She knew her son's heart. Julian loved Serena, maybe too much. If she told him outright, he might defend her. But proof was undeniable. Mrs. Carter's hand paused on the page. She thought back to her own struggles. Selling fruits in the market after her husband died. Carrying baskets heavier than her body. Sewing clothes at night just to pay Julian's school fees. She remembered the times she had gone without food so her son could eat. She whispered to herself, "He deserves better." That whisper was not anger. It was love. The kind of love that sacrifices quietly and protects fiercely. Back at the hotel, Serena's day moved on as usual. She shouted at a secretary, snapped at a junior staff member, and rolled her eyes at HR. To her, it was just another Tuesday. To everyone else, it was another reminder of who she really was. And to Mrs. Carter, it was another page in her growing diary. The stakes were rising. Serena thought she was winning, but Mrs. Carter knew the truth. The higher a person climbs on pride, the harder the fall, when humility finally arrives. That night, Julian called his mother. His voice was warm, full of excitement. "Mother, I cannot wait for you to spend more time with Serena. She is amazing." Mrs. Carter forced a smile into her voice. "My son, I want the best for you." When she hung up, her face turned serious again. She looked at the diary on her table and whispered, "It is only the beginning." The game had started. Serena did not know it yet, but every move she made was being watched, and soon the truth would come crashing down. The night after the lobby incident, Mrs. Carter sat quietly in her living room. The ceiling fan turned slowly above her, stirring the warm air. On the table before her lay her diary, its pages already carrying the weight of what she had seen. She opened it and read the fresh entry. Serena shouted, called me poor, shoved my cart in front of her staff. Her eyes lingered on the words. They were simple, but the pain behind them was sharp. She closed her eyes for a moment, remembering her son as a boy. Julian, small and thin, clinging to her hand as she carried baskets of oranges in the market. Julian, coughing with a fever when she had no money for medicine. Julian kneeling by her bed years later promising, "Mother, one day I will give you the life you deserve." That promise had come true. He had become one of the most powerful men in the city. But now, Mrs. Carter feared he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. She whispered into the empty room, "My son, you cannot see what I have seen." Across town, Serena's laughter filled a fancy restaurant. She sat with Chloe, her closest friend, swirling wine in a tall glass. People at nearby tables turned to look at her, some admiring, others annoyed by the volume of her voice. "You should have seen that cleaner's face," Serena said proudly. "She looked like a beaten dog. I pushed that cart so hard the water almost spilled across the lobby." Chloe's smile faded. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Serena, don't say that here. What if someone overhears?" Serena waved a hand dismissively. "Overhears what? That I told the truth? Please, Chloe, don't be naive. Housekeepers, guards, waiters, people like that do not matter. They exist to serve people like us." Chloe shook her head slowly. "Be careful, Serena. Julian might not see things the way you do." Serena leaned back in her chair, smirking. "Julian worships me. He knows I deserve the best. He would never believe gossip about me, not when he is the one buying my diamonds." Her words dripped with pride, and Chloe fell silent. She had known Serena for years, but lately the arrogance was becoming unbearable. That same night, Mrs. Carter sat at her window, the diary now closed. Outside, children ran along the street, laughing as they kicked a plastic ball. The sound carried her back to Julian's childhood. He too had once played barefoot in the dust, his clothes torn, but his spirit unbroken. She had sacrificed everything for him, even meals. Now, watching those children, she clenched her jaw. I will not let a proud woman destroy the boy I raised with my blood and sweat. Her plan sharpened in her mind. Serena would not be revealed through arguments. No, prideful people wear masks when it suits them. Mrs. Carter would test her again in ways Serena could not hide. And when Julian finally saw the truth, it would be with his own eyes. The next morning, Serena arrived at the Violetta Hotel with her usual flair. Her heels clicked like a countdown. She scolded her secretary for delivering the wrong file, ridiculed a junior staff member for a minor spelling mistake, and breezed past the security guard as if he were invisible. To her, it was business as usual. But what Serena did not know was that Mrs. Carter had returned to the hotel. Once again, dressed in the gray housekeeper's uniform, Mrs. Carter moved silently, mop and bucket in hand. She kept her head low, but her eyes open. She watched Serena roll her eyes at a staff member, heard her sigh loudly when a document was not printed on time, and saw her mock an intern for stuttering during a meeting. Mrs. Carter did not interfere. She only observed, storing every detail like arrows in a quiver. Near the photocopy machine, 2 employees whispered. One day she will insult the wrong person, one said. And that day she will regret it, the other replied. Mrs. Carter's lips pressed into a thin smile. They did not know it yet, but that day was already on its way. That evening, Julian stopped by his mother's home. He carried roasted plantains wrapped in foil, smiling warmly. Mother, I know you have been busy. I brought your favorite. Mrs. Carter's face softened at the sight of him. He was tall now, confident, respected by many. But to her, he was still the boy who once promised to change her life. They ate together, and Julian's voice was light. Mother, Serena is everything I ever wanted. She is beautiful, smart, ambitious. I know you will love her when you spend more time together. Mrs. Carter looked at her son carefully. She wanted to tell him the truth, to shout it into his ears, but she held her tongue. She knew if she pushed too soon, he would only defend Serena. Instead, she spoke gently. Julian, remember this. A proud woman does not only hurt her enemies, she hurts her husband too. Pride in a marriage is like fire. It burns everything in its path. Julian frowned, puzzled. Mother, are you warning me about Serena? She forced a smile. I'm only telling you to keep your eyes open. Love can blind even the wisest man. Later that night, after Julian left, Mrs. Carter reopened her diary. She wrote a single line with firm strokes. The mask is cracking. Soon Julian will see. She closed the book. Her decision was firm. Serena thought she was untouchable, but Mrs. Carter knew the higher pride climbs, the harder it falls. Serena's arrogance was growing. Mrs. Carter's plan was taking shape. Julian's eyes were still closed, but the collision was coming, and when it arrived, no one would leave unscarred. The morning sun bounced off the glass walls of the Violetta Hotel, flooding the lobby with light. By 10:45 a.m., everything looked flawless. At the podium, Serena stood in a navy suit, her heels clicking like a countdown. She scanned every corner with sharp eyes. "Move those chairs closer. Wipe that glass again. Labels forward on the bottles," she barked. "Yes, ma'am." Staff answered quickly, scrambling to keep up. Chloe, clipboard in hand, tried to keep pace. "Serena, relax. It looks perfect already." Serena gave her a side glance. "Perfection is the minimum. If we fail, Julian fails. And I do not allow failure." Her voice carried through the lobby, making junior staff stiffen. Even the receptionist sat straighter. Moments later, staff wheeled in trays of refreshments. A vendor followed, dressed in a gray uniform and scarf. She moved calmly, balancing her tray with practiced ease. No one recognized her. It was Mrs. Carter. She had planned this carefully, choosing today of all days, when partners would witness Serena in her element. She wanted to see if her future daughter-in-law could treat ordinary workers with respect when the pressure was on. "Set it here," Serena commanded, pointing to a table near the main walkway. Her tone was clipped, impatient. The vendor obeyed quietly, setting the tray down. One paper cup wobbled, but did not fall. A sigh of relief escaped Chloe, but Serena narrowed her eyes. "Be careful. I do not want clumsy mistakes embarrassing this hotel." "I will be careful, madam," Mrs. Carter said softly, her voice steady. Serena frowned at the slowness of her movements. "Faster. We do not have all day." The vendor met her gaze briefly. "Speed causes mistakes." The words were calm, but something in them made Serena's jaw tighten. She leaned forward. "What causes mistakes is people who do not belong here acting like they matter." Chloe's hand twitched at her side. "Serena," she whispered, trying to calm her. But Serena was already turning back to the refreshments, her irritation growing. At 10:58, the lobby doors opened. A tall man in a navy suit entered first. The lead partner, Mr. Davis. His sharp eyes scanned the setup. Serena's professional smile appeared instantly. "Welcome to Violetta. We are honored to host you today." Mr. Davis nodded. "Our managing director will be down shortly. He likes to see the atmosphere on the ground." "Then he will see excellence," Serena promised. Behind her, Mrs. Carter adjusted a stack of cups. One slipped from her grip and hit the floor with a sharp clatter. The sound echoed like thunder in the tense room. Serena spun around. "Are you blind?" she snapped, her voice rising. "Do you want to embarrass us in front of our partners?" "I'm sorry, madam," Mrs. Carter said, bending to pick it up. Serena shook her head, disgust on her face. "This is why people like you should stay in your lane." Chloe grabbed Serena's arm. "Stop! People are watching." "I want them to watch," Serena hissed. "Let them see the nonsense I deal with every day." The receptionist froze. Two interns near the copier exchanged anxious glances. One whispered, "She is finished." The other muttered, "Not yet, but soon." Mr. Davis's expression was unreadable, but his silence was heavy. At 11:00 sharp, the elevator chimed, the doors slid open, and two men stepped out, the managing director, and beside him, Julian. Serena's smile stretched wider. "Darling, you are here." But Julian was not smiling. His eyes swept the scene. A spilled cup, a vendor kneeling on the floor, Chloe tense, and Serena standing over the woman. "Serena," Julian said slowly. "What is happening here?" Serena's laugh came too quickly. "Oh, nothing serious. Just incompetence. I was handling it." Julian's gaze moved to the vendor. "Madam, are you all right?" "I'm fine," Mrs. Carter answered, keeping her head low. Serena stepped closer to Julian, lowering her voice. "Do not waste time on her. We should focus on the partners." But Julian's eyes lingered on the vendor. Something about her calmness unsettled him. Chloe whispered near his ear, "Look carefully." Serena tugged at his sleeve. "Darling, please, let us go upstairs. Everything is ready." Julian's jaw tightened. "Serena, don't touch staff ever again." The entire lobby froze. Serena blinked, her pride wounded. "Excuse me." "You heard me," Julian said firmly. Chloe let out the breath she had been holding. Serena's smile faltered. "So now you are defending people who spilled tea?" Julian did not answer. He just looked once more at the vendor, who quietly rose to her feet. For a fleeting second, their eyes met. Something in her gaze tugged at his memory. The elevator chimed again. Mr. Davis glanced at his watch. The managing director cleared his throat. "Shall we proceed?" he asked politely, though his eyes betrayed curiosity. Serena forced a bright laugh. Of course, everything is under control. But as she led the partners toward the boardroom, Julian's steps slowed. He glanced back one last time at the vendor who stood with her cart, calm and silent. His heart stirred with unease. And Mrs. Carter, beneath her disguise, whispered silently to herself. Soon he will see the truth. By the next morning, the Violetta Hotel buzzed with quiet energy. The partners' visit was officially declared a success, but the staff knew better. Something had shifted. They felt it in the way people avoided eye contact, in the way whispers floated through the halls. The moment Serena stormed into the office, her heels clicking hard against the tiles, conversations died mid-sentence. Desks fell silent. Screens lit up as though everyone had suddenly remembered urgent work. Serena smirked, misreading the silence. To her, it was fear, and fear in her world meant respect. But she did not know that 2 housekeepers had already replayed the short video clip captured on a phone the day before, the one showing her shoving the vendor, scolding her like a child in front of partners. The clip was quietly making rounds among junior staff, shared in hushed tones like a dangerous secret. "She pushed her right there in front of Julian," one whispered. "And Julian warned her," another replied. "If that woman ever finds out." "She already knows. She was standing right there." The rumors spread like smoke, silent but suffocating. In the staff cafeteria, Chloe sat alone, scrolling nervously on her phone. Her heart pounded as she watched the clip again. She had tried to stop Serena, had even touched Julian's sleeve to make him see. But seeing it captured on camera felt different. It was proof. Solid. Dangerous. She looked up when Serena entered, carrying her lunch tray high, like a queen in court. Serena dropped into the seat opposite her. "You should have seen Davis's face after the meeting," Serena said with a laugh. "He looked impressed." "Of course, I handled everything perfectly." Chloe's eyes flicked to her phone. The video burned in her pocket. She forced a smile. "Yes, perfectly." Serena leaned in, lowering her voice. "Did you notice that vendor yesterday? Clumsy. I do not know why they allow such people near our partners." Chloe swallowed hard. She wanted to say that vendor was Mrs. Carter, Julian's mother, the woman you shoved. But fear held her tongue. She had seen Serena destroy friendships over less. Instead, she said, "Maybe she was just nervous." Serena rolled her eyes. "Weakness is weakness. That is why people like me win. That is why Julian chose me." Her words cut deeper than she realized. Chloe looked at her old friend and saw not confidence, but a growing arrogance that blinded her to reality. Meanwhile, Mrs. Carter sat in her modest living room, the diary opened before her. She had added new notes. "Serena shoved me in front of partners. Julian told her, 'Do not touch staff ever again.'" Her pen pressed hard into the page. She smiled faintly. The mask was slipping faster than she had imagined. Julian had begun to notice. Soon, he would not need her diary. He would see it with his own eyes. A knock on her door pulled her from her thoughts. It was one of the housekeepers from the hotel holding out a phone. "Ma'am, I thought you should see this." Mrs. Carter took the phone. The video played. Serena's sharp voice, her hand shoving. Julian's warning echoing through the lobby. Mrs. Carter closed her eyes, whispering, "God does not sleep." Back at the hotel, Serena chaired a marketing meeting. She paced at the head of the table, tearing into a junior staff member for presenting a slide with a typo. "Do you people want to embarrass me again?" she snapped. The staff member stammered. "I will fix it, ma'am." Serena's lips curled. "Fix it? You should have fixed it before you brought it to me." She glanced at Chloe, expecting her usual quiet support. But Chloe's eyes were distant, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Serena frowned but moved on. Unbeknownst to her, at the far end of the table, one of the interns had already seen the video. He watched Serena scold her staff and thought, "Her fall is coming." That evening, Julian sat in his office, staring at the city lights. He replayed yesterday's moment in his mind. Serena's sharp words, the vendor's calm eyes, Chloe's subtle warning. Something was not adding up. He picked up his phone to call his mother, but stopped. A voice in his head whispered, "What if you have been blind?" At midnight, Serena scrolled through her social media, smiling at pictures of herself and Julian at a gala. To the world, she was perfection, glamorous, powerful, unstoppable. But downstairs in the hotel's staff quarters, the video played again and again. Each replay sharpened the whispers. "She's finished. Not yet, but soon. Before we begin," Mr. Davis said, remote in hand. A short clip on workplace culture. The lights dimmed in the Violetta Hotel's atrium. Heads turned to the giant screen. Serena stood at the podium in a navy suit, smile fixed, palms open to greet partners, directors, and staff. A 20-second video filled the screen. Serena's voice sharp, loud. The cart clattering, water spilling across marble. A vendor kneeling, Serena's hand shoving. Then Julian's voice clear as a bell. "Serena, do not touch staff ever again." No music, no commentary, just truth. The room went very still. Phones lowered, breaths caught. Serena's smile cracked. "Who put that there?" she snapped, turning to Chloe. "Take it down." Chloe did not move. Her fingers gripped her notepad. "It is already down." Mr. Davis cleared his throat. "We care about how leaders act when pressure is high." Serena recovered fast. "A staged moment," she said, cool again. "The vendor was careless. I was preventing a mess during a partner's welcome. That is what leaders do. Protect the brand." A murmur rolled through staff rows. Quiet, nervous, real. Julian stood at the aisle, jaw tight. He had not expected the clip either, but seeing it on a 10-foot screen stripped away every excuse he had made for Serena in his head. He lifted his eyes to the back doors. They opened. A woman in a gray uniform stepped in, scarf neat, steps steady. She carried no tray this time, only her dignity. Serena's voice went cold. "Security, please remove her. We are in a closed session." "Leave her," Julian said, eyes on the woman. "Let her speak." Chloe exhaled, shoulders trembling with relief and fear. The woman walked to the open floor beside the podium and faced the room. "Good morning." Her voice was soft, but carried. "My name is Evelyn." Serena laughed once, brittle. "Evelyn what?" "Madam, you were clumsy yesterday and caused a scene. This is not the moment for—" "Cole," the woman said gently. Evelyn Cole. Gasps snapped through the atrium like breaking glass. A director stood by instinct. Mr. Davis's eyebrows lifted a fraction. The managing director leaned forward, suddenly awake. Serena's face went blank, then alive with denial. "That is not. That cannot be." Julian took one step, then another, until he stood 3 paces from the woman in the uniform. His voice dropped to a whisper, meant for both of them. "Mother." Mrs. Carter nodded once. Silence broke into whispers. Security glancing at one another. Interns pressing hands to their mouths. The receptionist near tears. Serena's mind ran fast. She tried to turn, to smile, to spin. "We did not know. If we had known." Mrs. Carter's eyes were clear. "That is the point," she said. "You did not know. You saw a uniform and decided the heart inside it was small." No anger in her tone, only truth. Julian looked from his mother to his fiancé like a man feeling the floor shift. "Serena," he said, voice controlled. Did you shove my mother? Serena lifted her chin. Pride first. I corrected a vendor who was about to embarrass this hotel in front of our partners. That is what leaders do. Answer the question, Julian said. She glanced at the rows of staff, then at the partners. Her voice softened. It was strategic, Julian. I was protecting what you built. People respect strength. Weakness costs money. Mr. Davis spoke without raising his voice. Respect is not weakness. A low hum of agreement moved through the employees. Dio, the junior staffer, looked at the floor, ashamed of his silence yesterday. The housekeeper who filmed the clip stared at her shoes, hands shaking. Serena's eyes darted to Chloe. Help me. Chloe's lips pressed thin. Say you are sorry, she whispered. For what? Serena shot back too quickly. The room heard it. Mrs. Carter untied her scarf. She folded it and set it on the podium, then eased off the uniform and laid it neatly over the scarf. The uniform looked small on the wood, like a skin shed. I wore this, she said, so I could see how you treat people when you think no one important is watching. She turned to the staff. Many of you knew me only as a housekeeper or a vendor. Some of you smiled, some looked away. I am not here to embarrass anyone. I am here to speak plainly. She faced Serena. Leadership without kindness is a fire that burns the house it claims to protect. No one coughed. No chair scraped. Even the air conditioner sounded far. Julian swallowed. Mother. She looked at her son, and the room softened around that look. The memory of market days, late-night sewing, watery food, a fevered boy promising a future. Then it hardened again as she turned back to the woman who would share his life. Serena breathed in, then chose her weapon. Tears. Mrs. Carter, I am sorry if I offended you. I did not know it was you. Please forgive me. Mrs. Carter did not blink. You are not sorry you shoved a housekeeper. You are sorry you shoved a mother. The words hit like a door slamming. A director whispered to the managing director. Mr. Davis typed a note on his phone. Culture risk material. Julian's face was pale. He looked at the ring on Serena's finger, then at the uniform on the podium. Julian, Serena said quickly, voice shaking now. Do not let this ruin us. You know me. I fight for excellence. I can change. I will change, Chloe whispered almost to herself. Then start now. Serena did not hear her, or she could not. Julian stepped back as if distance could make the decision simpler. We will pause this meeting, he told the room, voice steady by force. 15 minutes, he turned to Serena. We need to talk. Serena reached for his hand. He did not take it. Phones rose again, not to film, but to message. Are you seeing this? It is happening now. Mrs. Carter lifted the uniform from the podium and held it to her chest like a folded flag. This is not about your money, she said quietly. It is about your heart. Serena stood alone at the podium, smile gone, words gone. The giant screen behind her, black and waiting. The boardroom door clicked shut behind Julian and Serena. The muffled buzz of voices outside, the partners, Mrs. Carter, they were left behind. Inside, silence pressed against the glass walls. Serena's hands trembled as she smoothed her skirt. Julian, listen to me, she began, voice softer than he had ever heard it. I did not mean to disrespect your mother. I did not know it was her. Julian stood near the window, his back to her, staring at the skyline. The city glowed in the afternoon light. Tall buildings steady, while his world shook. You did not know, he repeated quietly. That is exactly the problem. Serena moved closer. I was under pressure. The partners were coming. I was protecting the company. Your company. He turned sharply, his eyes dark. By shoving a woman in the lobby? By humiliating her in front of partners? By insulting people you think are beneath you? She flinched, but pride would not let her collapse fully. I was trying to keep standards. You know how much I want us to succeed. Julian's voice dropped lower. At what cost, Serena? My mother built me with nothing but respect for others. You just tried to tear her down because of a uniform. Tears spilled down Serena's cheeks. Please, Julian, don't throw away everything we have built. I love you. I can change. Just give me a chance. Meanwhile, outside the boardroom, the tension was heavy. Mrs. Carter sat calmly, the uniform folded on her lap. Her presence filled the waiting area like a silent verdict. Chloe sat beside her, biting her lip. Mrs. Carter, Chloe said carefully, Serena is not always like this. She can be good. Maybe she just lost control. Mrs. Carter turned her eyes on Chloe, steady but kind. My daughter, good is not how someone acts when eyes are watching. Good is how they treat the ones no one sees. Chloe looked down, her throat tight. She had been Serena's friend for years, but deep down she knew Mrs. Carter was right. Partners whispered in clusters. The video clip played again on someone's phone, passed from hand to hand. The words were spreading faster than fire. Inside, Serena dropped to her knees. Her sobs echoed in the glass room. Julian, please do not leave me. You mean everything to me. I will apologize to your mother. I will apologize to everyone. I will do whatever you want. Julian closed his eyes, torn between love and truth. He had seen her beauty, her intelligence, her ambition. He had also seen her pride, her cruelty, her disrespect. Now the two pictures clashed violently in his heart. Serena, he said finally, if my mother had not been in that uniform, you would never have apologized. You would still believe she was beneath you. Do you know how dangerous that is? Her voice cracked. I was wrong. I see it now. Please, just one more chance. He shook his head slowly. Love without respect is poison, and respect cannot be forced by fear. She reached for his hand, but he stepped back. At that moment, the door opened. Mrs. Carter entered quietly, Chloe behind her. The room felt smaller instantly. Mrs. Carter's eyes met Serena's. You want forgiveness, she said calmly. But forgiveness without change is empty. Serena crawled closer, clasping her hands together. Mother, I beg you, please forgive me. I was proud. I was foolish. But I swear I can change. Mrs. Carter studied her for a long moment. Then she spoke, her tone heavy with years of wisdom. A proud tree does not fall in one day. It leans, it cracks, it bends, but still it resists until the storm uproots it. You want me to believe you will bend, but I have seen your roots. Serena's tears fell harder. Please. Julian's eyes glistened, but he kept silent, waiting. Chloe stepped forward, voice trembling. Mrs. Carter, maybe this is her storm. Maybe she can change if she loses what she values most. Mrs. Carter nodded slightly. Perhaps, but change is not words spoken in fear. Change is proven in silence, in humility, in the little moments when no one claps for you. She turned to her son. Julian, I cannot make this decision for you, but remember, the woman you marry will raise the children who carry your name. Ask yourself, do you want them to learn pride or humility? Her words struck like a hammer. Julian looked at Serena on her knees, makeup streaked, hands trembling. He looked at his mother, calm, steady, unbroken. His heart pounded. His decision was not yet spoken, but the weight of it pressed against every wall of the glass room. The boardroom was too quiet. Julian Cole stood between two worlds, his mother's calm eyes and Serena's tear-streaked face. His chest rose and fell with the weight of a decision that felt bigger than himself. Julian, Serena whispered, still kneeling. "Please do not throw me away. Everything we have built, our future, our plans, it does not have to end like this." Her voice cracked. She reached for his hand again, but he stepped back. The space between them grew heavy, charged. Julian slowly turned to his mother. "Mother, what do you want me to do?" Mrs. Carter's answer was steady, quiet, almost too calm. "I want nothing but peace in your home. Choose peace, my son, whatever that means to you." The words stabbed deeper than a command would have.